Welcome to the Ultimate Explainer. Today, we are changing things up. You aren't just a viewer right now, you're a prospective pilot. We are diving deep into the technical manuals and the absolute deepest lore to give you the ultimate, essential orientation on acquiring, understanding, and actually flying a Gallifreyan spacecraft.
You know, it's so easy to look at a TARDIS and just think, magic blue box, right? But let's be real. You aren't just acquiring a standard run-of-the-mill ship. You are taking command of a highly complex, fundamentally alien machine. So let's look at what it actually takes to get your hands on one and the incredible danger it poses before you even think about turning the key.
160. Yeah, you heard that right. According to the source records, there are at least 160 different numbered variants of the TARDIS alone. This sets a massive stage for potential collectors out there. We aren't talking about different car trims here. We are looking at a massive fleet of distinct, highly categorized, and specialized space-time vehicles, and every single one of them was engineered for a totally different era or purpose in Gallifreyan history. Honestly, the market variety is just staggering. Beyond your standard numbered models, like the super advanced Type 1056771Z, you have highly specialized crafts built for entirely different purposes. Battle and war TARDISes, for instance, those are heavily armored and weaponized, designed specifically for cosmic frontlines like the Time War. Then you get into the true anomalies. We're talking diplomatic variants, engineered for secure peacekeeping missions, the bizarre Bull TARDIS, designed for brute force temporal incursions, and the absolutely horrific Paradox machine, which is engineered specifically to sustain timelines that shouldn't even exist in the first place. Each class handles completely differently, depending on what you need it to do. So how do you actually acquire one? Well, you don't exactly walk into a showroom. Beneath a standard chameleon circuit could be something incredibly rare. Take the Type 12, for example. Professor Chronatus famously discovered his in a mundane scrapyard of all places. I mean, for a dedicated collector, that's the dream, right? These unbelievable pieces of cosmic history are just out there, discarded, waiting for the right pilot to come along and dust off their temporal stabilizers. And actually, this whole scrapyard hunting thing perfectly mirrors the history of the most famous TARDIS pilot of them all. The first Doctor initially owned a highly advanced Type 50 model, but when it came time to flee Gallifrey, he didn't take it. He escaped using a famously retired, heavily obsolete Type 40 Mark III. In fact, by the time of his fourth incarnation, that entire line was considered utterly obsolete by his people. It really goes to show that for a pilot, sometimes sheer reliability and charm completely outweigh the latest showroom tech. Now, if you are looking at these older models, you have got to keep an eagle eye out for aftermarket modifications. When the first Doctor encountered the Monk's Mark IV TARDIS, he immediately noted that there had been quite a few internal changes made compared to his own ship. For a collector, this is vital information. A TARDIS is highly modular, meaning two ships of the exact same mark could operate entirely differently depending on whatever the previous owner happened to tinker with.
Okay, so you've acquired your scrapyard find, or maybe your modified Mark IV. You step through those doors into that massive interior. The absolutely crucial question we have to ask right now is, can anyone just walk in and fly a TARDIS? Is it like stealing a car where you just hotwire it and hit the gas? Well, the source material gives us a very clear and very dangerous answer to that.
It all comes down to a biological key. Before anyone can fly it safely, or honestly, even be protected against total cellular destabilization while inside, the ship must be primed. And it doesn't take a physical key, it takes the symbiotic nuclei of a Time Lord cells. This creates a molecular stabilization system. Without a Time Lord to biologically tether to the ship and prime the system, the TARDIS simply is not fully functional, and more importantly, it is definitely not safe. Ignoring this rule comes with a truly terrifying consequence. The manual contains a very stark warning. If an unprimed TARDIS is boarded by an unauthorized, non-Time Lord species, it actively defends itself. It will literally assault the mind of the intruder, causing severe memory loss and amnesia. It is a living machine that absolutely requires that symbiotic cellular bond. Now, once it's properly primed by a Time Lord, it can be safely used by other species, but definitely not before. Let's assume you have the proper biological clearance and you step onto the main dais. Right in the center is your standard six-sided control console. This is the heart of the ship. Every single function, from environmental scanners to manipulating the vortex itself, is controlled and monitored from this one central hub. Let's break down exactly what a new pilot is looking at when they step up to these controls. Directly in front of you is Station 1, the navigation panel. This right here is where you actually drive the ship through real space and the time vortex. Notice the complex array of controls. You have your velocity gauge on the left to measure relative speed. And right below it, those blue buttons? Those are your absolutely critical demat and remat levers. Those are the controls that actually rip you out of space-time and place you somewhere else.
But how in the world do you power a trip through the vortex? Throwing the engine activation switch doesn't just spark a little ignition. It engages a direct link to the Eye of Harmony. That is a literal collapsing star. Disengage that switch, and the ship doesn't just die. It drops down to run idle on highly resilient rechargeable internal batteries, which keeps the life support and the basic systems running for you.
Here is a massive pro tip. If you are flying this machine all by yourself, pay very close attention to the quick transfer switch. See, a TARDIS was originally designed for a crew of multiple Time Lords. But what if you are a solo pilot who's suddenly short on hands? This switch allows you to pre-program and patch multiple complex systems together, activating them simultaneously with a single flick. It takes serious computing skill and time to set up, but it is an absolute lifesaver for the lone explorer. Speaking of lifesavers, we really need to pivot to the high-stakes emergency procedures in the manual. Yes, the Eye of Harmony provides nearly infinite power, but the universe is a dangerous place. So what happens when standard power simply isn't enough to survive? What does a pilot do when they are trapped in a scenario where the engines are totally maxed out and destruction is just seconds away? This brings us to a frankly terrifying survival mechanism: emergency architectural configuration. When the ship is trapped and needs a massive, immediate burst of power, the pilot can activate these circuits to literally jettison the TARDIS's own internal rooms right into the void. The machine deletes its own physical architecture, converting the mass of those deleted corridors and rooms into raw, explosive energy just to escape the anomaly. And historical records show just how catastrophic this feature can be. Pilots have deleted their own corridors just to escape crushing gravity bubbles. It was even used to survive Event 1. That's the literal Big Bang at the dawn of creation. And perhaps most impressively, it generates enough localized power to physically shatter the boundary of our universe, allowing the ship to travel into the void beyond, or force its way back in. Which brings us to a final, really provocative question you have to ask yourself before taking the helm. Are you truly ready to command a machine that feeds on a captured star, defends itself by literally wiping the minds of intruders, and is perfectly willing to devour its own internal architecture just to keep you alive? The TARDIS is beautiful, sure, and an absolute prize for any collector, but it is also a terrifyingly powerful entity. That wraps up our explainer for today. I really hope you walk away with a newfound respect for what it truly takes to turn that key.